Before I begin, I want to say something important. If you believe that family love is powerful, but sometimes complicated, if you understand that letting go can hurt just as much as holding on, then this story is for you. So please take a second to subscribe to my channel, like this video, and share it with someone who believes in the strength of family. Because today's story isn't about scandal. It's about growth. It's about loneliness. It's about the quiet moment when a mother realizes her son is no longer a child, and both of them must learn how to change. Chapter 1. My name is Paula. My name is Paula. I have been a single mother for most of my adult life. My son Jeremy is now 24 years old. For years it was just the two of us against the world. No partner. No shared responsibilities. No one to lean on except each other. When Jeremy was little, I was his protector. When he became a teenager, I was his anchor. And as he grew into a young man, I sometimes wondered who I was becoming without realizing it. Because when you dedicate your entire identity to raising a child, what happens when that child doesn't need you the same way anymore? It was a cold evening when I first felt the shift. Jeremy came home looking exhausted. He had been working long hours while finishing his studies. His shoulders seemed heavier than usual. His eyes carried stress he tried to hide. "You look tired," I said gently. He gave me a small smile. "Just a long day, Mom." Our heater had been struggling lately, and the house felt colder than it should have. I told him he could rest in my room where it was slightly warmer. That wasn't unusual. We had always been close. Comfort had always been natural between us. He lay down on top of the blanket. I sat beside him, brushing his hair back like I used to when he was little. But something inside me shifted. Not because of anything inappropriate, but because I suddenly realized he wasn't little anymore. His face had grown sharper, his voice deeper, his presence stronger, and I felt something I wasn't prepared for: distance. When you raise a child alone, your world becomes very small. You cancel dates. You postpone dreams. You learn to live quietly. Jeremy had unknowingly filled every empty space in my life. Now, sitting beside him, I felt something uncomfortable rising inside me. Not desire, not confusion, but fear. Fear that soon he would leave. Fear that one day this house would be silent. Fear that I had built my entire emotional world around someone who was meant to grow beyond it. Jeremy shifted slightly and rested his head briefly against my shoulder. "Thanks for always being there," he murmured. And that's when it hit me. He wasn't holding on to me. I was holding on to him. Just then the doorbell rang. It startled both of us. I opened the door to find Paul, our neighbor. He had always been kind. The kind of man who offered help without expecting anything. "Just checking if your heater's acting up again," he said with a warm smile. I suddenly became aware of something. When was the last time I had let someone into my life? Not just into my house. Into my heart? Jeremy stood in the hallway watching us talk. His expression was neutral, but thoughtful. Later, when Paul left, Jeremy spoke quietly. "Mom, you know it's okay for you to have a life too, right?" I blinked. "I do have a life." He hesitated. "I mean your own life." The words landed heavier than he probably intended. That night, Jeremy knocked on my bedroom door. "Can we talk?" We sat across from each other. Not as mother and child, but almost as two adults trying to understand each other. "I've been thinking," he said carefully. "I might apply for a job in another city." The room felt smaller. "Oh," I managed. "I'm not leaving tomorrow," he added quickly. "But I need to build something for myself." I nodded. I had always encouraged independence. I had raised him to be strong. So why did it feel like abandonment? "Mom," he said softly, "I worry about you. You've given me everything. But who's there for you?" I didn't have an answer. Because the truth was, I didn't know who I was outside of being his mother. Over the next few weeks, something subtle changed between us. Not distance. Not coldness. But awareness. We began knocking before entering rooms. We began making separate plans. We began speaking honestly. It wasn't dramatic. It was quiet. And that made it harder. One evening, Jeremy said something that changed me. "I don't want us to depend on each other in a way that stops us from growing." He wasn't rejecting me. He was protecting both of us. And I realized something painful but beautiful. Healthy love isn't about closeness at all costs. It's about space when needed. I started saying yes to small things. Coffee with Paul. A community class. An evening walk alone. At first, it felt strange. Almost guilty. But slowly, I began remembering who I was before motherhood consumed me. I wasn't just someone's mother. I was a woman. A person. An individual with unfinished dreams. Jeremy noticed. You seem happier, he said one day. I think I'm remembering myself, I replied. He smiled. And in that smile, I didn't see a boy anymore. I saw a man who respected me. Months later, Jeremy got the job. Another city. A new beginning. We packed together quietly. Folded memories into boxes. On his last night, we sat at the kitchen table. No matter where I go, he said, you'll always be my home. And for the first time, I didn't feel panic. I felt pride. Because letting go didn't mean losing him. It meant trusting what we had built. Final reflection. Love changes. Family changes. Roles change. But healthy love adapts. I learned that holding on too tightly can blur boundaries. And letting go doesn't weaken love. It strengthens it. Jeremy left. The house became quieter. But it wasn't empty. Because for the first time in years, I wasn't just someone's mother. I was Paula again. The morning Jeremy left, I didn't cry. Not at the station. Not when he hugged me. Not when the train doors closed. I waved. I smiled. I told him, call me when you arrive. And then I came home. That's when it happened. The silence. It wasn't just quiet. It was loud. Every room echoed with absence. The kitchen chair where he used to sit. The hallway light he always forgot to turn off. The faint scent of his cologne lingering in the air. I stood in the middle of the living room and whispered, okay, Paula, now what? For the first time in 24 years, no one needed me that morning. And I didn't know who I was without that role. The first week felt like walking through fog. Jeremy called every night. Did you eat? Did you sleep? Did Paul fix the heater completely? It was comforting. But I caught myself waiting by the phone. Waiting for his voice to fill the emptiness. One evening, after we hung up, I realized something dangerous. If I kept clinging to daily calls as my emotional oxygen, I would never grow. And neither would he. So the next night, when he called, I did something different. Jeremy, I said gently, you don't have to check on me every day. There was a pause. Are you okay? He asked. I'm learning to be. It was the first boundary I set. Not against him, but against my own fear. A few days later, Paul knocked. Thought you might like some company, he said, holding 2 coffees. For a moment, instinct told me to refuse. Because accepting meant stepping forward. But I opened the door wider. We sat at the small kitchen table. The same table where Jeremy and I had shared thousands of meals. I imagine it's strange, Paul said carefully. After all those years. It is, I admitted. I don't know how to fill the space. Paul didn't try to rescue me. He didn't offer cliches. He just listened. And I realized something surprising. Adult companionship feels different from parental devotion. Quieter. Steadier. Less consuming. And maybe, healthier. The first time I laughed at something Paul said, guilt hit me immediately. As if joy required permission. As if rebuilding meant betrayal. That night, I called Jeremy. How's the new apartment? I asked. It's good, he said. Still unpacking. He sounded excited. Alive. Growing. Mom, he said suddenly. I met someone at work. Her name is Sophia. I felt my chest tighten. Not with jealousy, but with realization. He was building his own world. And I had to build mine too. That's wonderful, I said, and I meant it. After we hung up, I looked at myself in the mirror. Your son is allowed to grow, I whispered. So are you. I signed up for a community art class. The first day, I almost turned around at the door. Everyone seemed to have a story, careers, hobbies, marriages. What's your thing? The instructor asked me. I hesitated. For years, my answer would have been, I'm a mother. But now, I'm rediscovering, I said. And for the first time, that felt honest. I began painting again, something I had loved before life became survival. Each brushstroke felt like reclaiming a small piece of myself. Not Paula the mother. 3 months later, Jeremy came to visit. When he stepped through the door, my heart swelled. But something was different. He looked independent, confident. He hugged me tightly. "You look good, Mom." "So do you." We talked for hours. About his job. About Sophia. About his new routines. At one point he looked around the house. "You rearranged the furniture." I smiled. I needed change. He nodded slowly, studying me. "You're different. Better or worse?" I teased. "Stronger," he said. And that's when I knew. We had done it. We had survived the shift. Just Paula. That evening, we sat on the porch. "Mom," Jeremy said carefully. "I was scared when I left." "Why?" "I worried you'd feel alone. I worried we depended on each other too much." I took a deep breath. Maybe we did. But love isn't supposed to trap us. It's supposed to prepare us. He looked relieved. "I don't want to ever lose what we have." "We won't," I said. "But it has to evolve." And in that moment we weren't clinging. We weren't holding on out of fear. We were choosing each other, freely. Weeks later, Paul asked me to dinner. Not as a neighbor. Not as a helper. As a man interested in knowing me. And this time, I didn't hesitate. Because I understood something now. Loneliness is loud, but growth is louder. Jeremy called that night. "I'm proud of you, Mom," he said when I told him. I smiled. "I'm proud of us." Letting go didn't end our bond. It strengthened it. We stopped being each other's entire world and became two whole people who loved each other without fear. Jeremy built a life. Iribilt mina. And the house that once echoed with silence now echoed with peace. If this continuation touched you, if you've ever struggled with empty nest syndrome, if you've ever had to learn how to love without clinging, comment below. Healthy love grows. And subscribe, because stories like this remind us that change isn't loss. It's transformation.